The first black SUV rolled into the diner parking lot at 11:42 on a Sunday morning. Maya Collins barely noticed it. Rosewood Diner was packed after church, and she was carrying 2 plates of pancakes, a Denver omelet, and 3 coffees when the second SUV pulled in behind it. Then came a third, a fourth, a fifth. By the time the 12th polished black SUV surrounded the little brick diner on the outskirts of Columbus, Ohio, every conversation inside had stopped. Customers turned toward the windows. Someone near the register whispered, "Is the governor coming?" Maya set down her tray. Men and women in dark suits stepped from the vehicles. 2 security officers moved toward the entrance. Behind them came an older man carrying a leather briefcase and a woman in a cream-colored coat who looked like she belonged on the cover of a business magazine. Then the door opened. The man with the briefcase walked directly to the counter. "I'm looking for Maya Collins." Maya felt every eye in the diner turn toward her. She slowly raised her hand. "That's me." The man studied her for a second. "Mr. Walter Hayes sent us." Maya stared at him. "Walter?" The lawyer nodded. "The gentleman who sits at the corner table every Sunday." Maya looked toward the empty booth by the window. For almost a year, Walter had come to Rosewood wearing the same faded brown coat, ordering the same inexpensive breakfast, and sometimes counting his cash before paying. 3 Sundays earlier, he had disappeared without explanation. Maya had spent weeks wondering whether the lonely old man was sick, hurt, or unable to afford the bus ride anymore. Now 12 luxury SUVs were sitting outside because of him. The woman in the cream coat stepped forward. "You really don't know who my father is?" Maya shook her head. The woman's expression changed. "My father is Walter Hayes." She paused. "Founder of Hayes Continental Foods." Maya stopped breathing for a second. She knew that name. Everybody in Ohio knew that name. Hayes Continental supplied supermarkets, hospitals, hotels, school districts, and restaurant chains across several states. Walter Hayes wasn't a struggling retiree. He was one of the wealthiest men in the Midwest. And before that Sunday was over, his own children would accuse Maya of trying to take advantage of him. But the truth about why Walter had walked into Rosewood Diner every Sunday had nothing to do with money. It had begun 11 months earlier, on a rainy October morning, when an old man stood at the door and nobody noticed him. Almost nobody. Maya Collins was 28 and tired, in the way people become tired when resting is something they can't afford. She worked 6 days a week at Rosewood Diner, usually starting before sunrise. On Sundays, she took the early shift because the tips were better after church. She lived with her 22-year-old younger brother, Marcus, in a modest apartment 20 minutes away. Their father had disappeared from their lives years earlier. Their mother, Lorraine Collins, had raised them almost entirely on her own. Lorraine had loved food. Not fancy food. Food that made people sit down. Food that made arguments stop for 10 minutes. Food that made a lonely person feel less alone. For 12 years, Lorraine had run a tiny neighborhood cafe called Lorraine's Table. Maya had grown up there. She remembered doing homework in the back booth. She remembered the smell of cinnamon rolls before sunrise. She remembered her mother slipping free bowls of soup to people who were short on cash and pretending she had made too much. Then Lorraine developed cancer. The medical bills came first. Then the missed work. Then the debt. By the time she died, Lorraine's Table was gone. Maya was 23. Marcus was 17. Maya dropped out of community college, found restaurant work, and never went back. She told herself it was temporary. 5 years later, she was still carrying coffee. That October Sunday, the rain had kept most customers away. Maya was wiping down a table when she noticed an elderly man standing just inside the door. He looked about 78, tall, though age had bent him slightly. Silver hair, clean-shaven face, a wooden cane in one hand. His brown wool coat was old but carefully brushed. He looked around as if he was trying to recognize the place. Maya walked over. "Morning, sir. Just one?" The old man looked at her and smiled. "Just one. You can sit anywhere." His eyes moved immediately to a booth near the window. "That one available? It's all yours." He sat slowly. Maya brought him a menu. He barely opened it. Coffee, black, 2 eggs over easy, wheat toast. Home fries come with that. He glanced at the price. I'll skip those. No problem. Maya started to walk away. Then he called after her. Miss? She turned. Your name? Maya. Walter. Nice to meet you, Walter. His breakfast came to $8.75. When Maya brought the check, Walter reached into his coat. Then froze. He checked another pocket. Then another. His face changed. I seem to have left my wallet at home. Maya could see embarrassment spreading across his face. I'll bring it back. You don't have to. I said I'll bring it back. Sir, it's okay. No, it isn't. Maya picked up the check. I'll cover it. Walter looked at her. You don't know me. I know you ate 2 eggs and toast. We're not talking about a mortgage. He almost smiled. You do this for every stranger who forgets his wallet? No. Why me? Maya shrugged. Because you look like you'd spend the whole day feeling guilty about $8. For the first time, Walter laughed. The following Sunday, at exactly 10:30, he came back. Same coat, same cane, same booth. He placed a $20 bill on the table before he even sat down. Debt paid. Maya looked at the bill. You owe me $8.75. The rest is interest. She handed him back $11. I'm not a bank. You are a difficult woman. So my brother tells me. Walter ordered the same breakfast. This time, he accepted the home fries. The following Sunday, he returned again. And the Sunday after that. Soon it became routine. 10:30. Corner booth. Black coffee. 2 eggs over easy. Wheat toast. Home fries, if Maya insisted. Walter never spoke much about himself. When Maya asked whether he was retired, he said yes. When she asked what he had done, he said, food business. She assumed he had managed a grocery store or worked for a distributor. He never corrected her. Walter asked most of the questions. He wanted to know why Maya worked so much, why she always checked her phone between tables, why she never took Sundays off. Eventually, she told him about Marcus. Marcus was studying mechanical engineering at Ohio State while working evenings at a warehouse. Maya helped with his tuition whenever she could. You raised him? Walter asked one Sunday. My mother did. After she died? Maya looked toward the coffee pot. I just made sure he didn't have to drop out. And what did you give up? She smiled. Why does everybody think helping someone means you sacrificed your whole life? Walter didn't smile back. Because sometimes it does. Maya changed the subject. But Walter had noticed. Over time, Maya learned small things about him. He had been married for 47 years. His wife's name was Eleanor. She had died 8 years earlier. He had 2 children, a daughter and a son. He had grandchildren he didn't see often enough. He hated smartphones. He thought restaurant coffee had become too complicated, and whenever he talked about Eleanor, his whole face softened. One Sunday, Maya found him staring out the window instead of eating. Bad day? Walter looked at her. Today would have been our 55th wedding anniversary. Maya sat across from him for a moment. I'm sorry. He nodded. She loved this place. Rosewood? It wasn't Rosewood then. Maya frowned. Walter looked around. It was called Eleanor's Lunch Counter. Maya blinked. Your wife owned this place? A long time ago. Seriously? He smiled. I met her right there. He pointed toward the counter. She charged me for coffee I didn't order because she said I'd been sitting too long. Maya laughed. She sounds terrifying. She was. His smile faded. And wonderful. Maya looked around the diner differently after that. The faded brick walls. The old counter. The booth by the window. Walter wasn't coming because the breakfast was cheap. He was coming because his wife had once been there. That Sunday, for the first time, Maya understood that Walter wasn't simply an old man with nowhere else to go. He was visiting a version of his life that no longer existed. Months passed. Winter turned into spring, and something unexpected happened. Walter and Maya became friends. Not in a dramatic way. There were no grand speeches, just 10-minute conversations between coffee refills. He brought Marcus an old engineering textbook after learning what he was studying. Maya refused to accept it until Walter insisted it had been sitting in his basement for years. Maya brought Walter a slice of apple pie on Eleanor's birthday. Walter complained it had too much cinnamon, then ate every bite. One Sunday, he asked her a question. If you woke up tomorrow with enough money to do anything you wanted, what would you do? Maya laughed. Sleep. I'm serious. She thought about it. I'd reopen my mother's restaurant. Walter's expression changed. You never told me she had one. You never asked. What was it called? Lorraine's Table. Walter's hands stopped around his coffee cup. Lorraine Collins? Maya looked at him. Yes. For several seconds, Walter said nothing. Then he asked quietly, where was it? Maya told him. Walter leaned back. Something was happening behind his eyes. What? Nothing. That was definitely not nothing. Walter shook his head. I'm old. Sometimes my face does things without permission. Maya laughed and walked away. But after she left the table, Walter pulled out his phone. For someone who claimed to hate smartphones, he suddenly knew exactly how to use one. That afternoon, Walter went home to a gated estate 20 miles away. The brown coat disappeared. The cane remained, but everything else changed. A housekeeper opened the door. A driver took his keys, and waiting in his study were 2 executives from Hayes Continental Foods. Walter dismissed them. Then he unlocked a cabinet he had not opened in years. Inside was a box that belonged to Eleanor. Letters, photographs, old receipts, restaurant menus. He searched until nearly midnight. Then he found it. An envelope dated 1998. Lorraine Collins. Walter sat down. Inside was a letter from Maya's mother. Eleanor, I don't know how to thank you for what you did. The landlord gave me another 6 months. The equipment is paid. I can keep the cafe open. I promise I will repay every dollar. But more than that, I promise I'll do for someone else what you did for me. When I can, I'll feed somebody else. Walter read the letter twice, then a third time. He had never known. Eleanor had helped Maya's mother save Lorraine's table before Maya was old enough to remember, and Lorraine had eventually repaid every cent. Walter sat alone in the study for a very long time. The following Sunday, he came to Rosewood as usual. Maya had no idea that he now knew exactly who she was, and Walter decided not to tell her. Not yet. Because for the first time in decades, someone had become his friend before learning his last name mattered. He was afraid that telling her would change everything. Then, 3 weeks later, Walter failed to appear. Maya noticed immediately. At 10:30, his booth remained empty. At 11, she checked the parking lot. At noon, she finally stopped expecting him. The next Sunday, he still didn't come. Maya called the phone number he had given her months earlier. No answer. She left a voicemail. Hey Walter, it's Maya from Rosewood. You missed 2 Sundays, which means either you're sick or you finally found better coffee. Call me. He didn't. By the 3rd Sunday, she was worried. She called again. The phone had been disconnected. That was when the 12 SUVs arrived. Standing in the middle of Rosewood Diner, Maya listened as the woman in the cream coat introduced herself. Rebecca Hayes. Walter is my father. Beside her stood Daniel Hayes, Walter's 40-year-old son. Daniel was tall, polished, and visibly irritated. The lawyer introduced himself as Martin Reeves. Maya barely heard him. Where is Walter? Rebecca hesitated. He had a cardiac episode 3 weeks ago. Maya's face changed. Is he alive? Yes. Then why didn't anyone call me? Daniel let out a humorless laugh. Because until 5 days ago, we didn't know you existed. Maya looked at him. What does that mean? Daniel stepped forward. My father has spent the last 3 weeks asking for a waitress named Maya. Rebecca gave him a warning look. Daniel. No, we're already here. He turned back to Maya. How much has he given you? Maya stared at him. What? Money. Gifts. Property. Nothing. Nothing? No? Daniel glanced at the diner. You expect me to believe you spent almost a year meeting privately with an elderly billionaire and never knew who he was? Maya's cheeks burned. I wasn't meeting privately with anybody. I was serving your father breakfast. Every Sunday. I work Sundays. And somehow, 2 weeks before his heart attack, he changed his estate plan. The diner went silent. Maya could feel customers listening. She removed her apron. I don't know anything about his estate, Daniel continued. He created a new charitable trust, tens of millions of dollars. Rebecca interrupted. It is not coming from our inheritance. Daniel turned. That isn't the point. It sounds exactly like the point. Maya lifted a hand. Stop. Both of them looked at her. I don't care about your family money. Daniel smirked. That's convenient. Maya stepped closer. Your father sat in that booth every Sunday. Sometimes we talked. Sometimes he didn't say 10 words. I didn't know his company. I didn't know his house. I didn't know he had 12 SUVs. She pointed toward the parking lot. I thought he was lonely. Daniel's expression hardened. Maya continued. And apparently, I was right. That one landed. Rebecca looked away. Daniel said nothing. Then Martin, the lawyer, opened his briefcase. Miss Collins, Walter asked me to give you this if you refuse to come with us. He handed her an envelope. Maya opened it. The handwriting was shaky. Maya, my children are frightened because money has taught them to doubt people before they understand them. Do not judge them too quickly. Please come see me. There is something about your mother I should have told you sooner. Maya's eyes stopped on the last sentence. She looked up. What does he know about my mother? No one answered. 20 minutes later, Maya was sitting in the back of one of the SUVs. Walter was recovering at a private medical center in downtown Columbus. When Maya entered his room, she almost didn't recognize him. He looked smaller, paler. A monitor blinked beside the bed. His cane rested against the wall. Walter opened his eyes. Maya. She crossed her arms. You're a liar. He smiled weakly. I expected something warmer. You told me you worked in the food business. I did. You own half the food business. Not half. Walter. He laughed, then winced. Maya sat beside him. You scared me. His expression softened. I'm sorry. Why didn't you tell me? Walter looked toward the window. Because I liked being Walter. You are Walter. Not to most people. He explained that after Eleanor died, his life became meetings, attorneys, boards, advisors, security, family arguments, and people wanting something. Rosewood was different. At Rosewood, nobody cared who he had been. Maya brought coffee because he ordered coffee. She argued with him because she wanted to. She covered an $8 breakfast when she thought he had forgotten his wallet. It wasn't a test, Walter said. Maya looked at him. Good, because those billionaire tests poor people stories are ridiculous. Walter laughed. I really did forget my wallet. Then you really are getting old. Apparently. Then Walter became serious. There's something else? He asked Martin to bring in the box. Inside were Eleanor's letters. He handed Maya the letter from Lorraine. Maya read it slowly. Her eyes filled. My mother knew Eleanor? Walter nodded. Eleanor helped save your mother's restaurant. Maya looked up. She never told me. She never told me either. Maya read the final line again. When I can, I'll feed somebody else. Her breath caught. My mother used to say that. Walter's eyes softened. So did Eleanor. For the first time, Maya understood why her mother had spent years giving away meals they could barely afford. Lorraine hadn't been reckless. She had been passing something forward. Walter reached for another folder. This is what Daniel is worried about. Inside were documents creating the Eleanor Hayes Community Food Initiative. Walter had decided to move $30 million of his personal wealth into a foundation supporting independent neighborhood restaurants, food pantries, and small food businesses in struggling communities. Maya stared at him. 30 million? Walter nodded. And you did this because of me? No. The answer surprised her. I should have done it years ago. Eleanor wanted something like it before she died. I kept postponing it. He paused. Meeting you reminded me why she wanted it. Maya looked down at the papers. Then Walter handed her one final document. It was a deed. Maya stared at the address. Her mother's old restaurant. You bought it? The building was vacant. You bought Lorraine's table? I bought the property. Maya's hands trembled. Walter continued. I want the foundation to renovate it. Then I want you to run it. Maya immediately shook her head. No. Walter blinked. No? Not like this. Maya, I'm not taking a restaurant because I was nice to you. It isn't charity. It feels like charity. Walter leaned back. Then tell me what would make it acceptable. Maya looked at him for a long moment. A loan. Walter frowned. I don't understand. The foundation loans me the startup money, interest-free if you want to be generous. I repay it. Maya, and I'm not the only person who gets this opportunity. Walter became quiet. If this foundation is real, then make it real. Let restaurant owners apply. Let single mothers apply. Let people who don't happen to know Walter Hayes apply. From the doorway, Rebecca smiled. Daniel didn't. Maya continued. And I don't sit on the board. Walter raised an eyebrow. Why? Because I don't know anything about running a $30 million foundation. An unusually intelligent admission. I can advise them about what small restaurant owners actually need. But I'm not becoming some fake executive because you like my coffee. Walter stared at her, then slowly smiled. Eleanor would have loved you. Daniel finally spoke. Or she knows exactly what to say. The room went still. Maya looked at him. Daniel stepped inside. You're very convincing. Rebecca whispered. Daniel, enough. But Maya stood. No, let him finish. Daniel's anger finally broke through. 2 years ago, my father trusted someone else, a family friend. He signed over $3 million to a project that never existed. Walter looked away. Daniel continued. We spent months recovering part of it. So when my father suddenly creates a $30 million foundation after spending every Sunday with someone we've never met, yes, I ask questions. For the first time, Maya saw something other than arrogance. Fear. Not fear of losing money. Fear of losing his father. Maya softened slightly. You should ask questions. Daniel looked surprised. But you should ask them before accusing people. She placed the deed back on Walter's bed. I'm going home. Walter frowned. Maya, when your family figures this out, call me. She looked at Daniel. And if I ever come back, it won't be because your father owns a company. Then she walked out. For the next 3 weeks, Maya returned to Rosewood. No SUVs, no lawyers, no reporters, just coffee, pancakes, tips, bills. Walter called twice. She didn't answer. Then one Wednesday afternoon, Daniel Hayes walked into the diner alone. No suit, no security, no convoy. Maya was refilling sugar jars. You lost? Daniel sat at the counter. Probably. She waited. He took a breath. I owe you an apology. Maya kept filling the jars. Yes. Daniel almost smiled. I hired an investigator. She stopped. You did what? I wanted to know whether you had contacted my father before Rosewood, whether you had debts, whether you had tried to access his money. Maya stared at him. You investigated me? Yes. And you came here because you discovered I'm boring? Essentially. She tried not to laugh. Daniel's expression became serious. I also read my mother's letters. He told Maya that Eleanor had been asking Walter to create the food foundation for more than 10 years. The idea hadn't come from Maya. Walter had simply found a reason to stop delaying it. Daniel looked toward Walter's empty booth. My father has spent his entire life building things. After my mother died, he mostly stopped caring about them. He looked back at Maya. Then he started talking about this diner. Maya said nothing. Daniel continued. I thought someone was manipulating him. And now? Now I think he found somewhere he could remember who he was before everyone called him Mr. Hayes. Maya leaned against the counter. Is he okay? He's home. Good. Daniel stood. One more thing. He handed her a document. The foundation had been formally approved. The board would include restaurant owners, nonprofit leaders, accountants, and community representatives. Maya had been offered a 1-year paid advisory position. No voting power, no ownership, no inheritance. And the Lorraine's table property would be offered to Maya through the same loan program available to other applicants, exactly as she had asked. At the bottom of the page was a handwritten note. Still think I don't listen? Walter Maya laughed. 9 months later, Lorraine's table reopened. The old building didn't become a luxury restaurant. Maya didn't want chandeliers. She wanted warmth. Wooden tables. A long counter. Good coffee. Breakfast served all day. Affordable dinners. On one wall hung a framed photograph of Lorraine. Beside it was a photograph of Eleanor Hayes standing outside her old lunch counter decades earlier. Between the photographs was one sentence. When you can, feed somebody else. The restaurant had one simple policy. Every customer could add a few dollars to their bill to pay toward a future meal. No photographs. No social media posts. No names. People who needed a meal could quietly ask the cashier. Marcus graduated that spring. Maya cried harder at his graduation than she had at the restaurant opening. Daniel became one of the foundation's most demanding board members. And, unexpectedly, one of Maya's strongest allies. Rebecca helped expand the program into 3 more Ohio communities. The foundation funded 11 small food businesses in its first year. But the moment Maya remembered most happened on an ordinary Sunday, 10:30 in the morning. The door opened. Walter Hayes walked in. No black SUVs, no security, no lawyer. Just the faded brown coat, the wooden cane, and the old man Maya had met nearly 2 years earlier. She pointed toward the corner. Your booth is free. Walter sat down. Maya brought black coffee. 2 eggs over easy. Wheat toast. And home fries. Walter looked at the plate. I didn't order the potatoes. You complain about them every week and eat them every week. Terrible customer service. Maya smiled. Walter looked around Lorraine's table. Families filled the booths. A truck driver drank coffee at the counter. A young mother divided pancakes between 2 children. Near the register, a man quietly used one of the prepaid meal cards. Walter noticed. His eyes became wet. Maya. Yes? You remembered. She smiled. You order the same breakfast every Sunday. It isn't difficult. Walter shook his head. No. He looked toward the words between Eleanor and Lorraine's photographs. I mean, you remembered what they taught us. Maya followed his eyes. When you can, feed somebody else. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Walter said quietly, Do you know what bothered Daniel most about you? Maya raised an eyebrow. There's a list? Walter smiled. He couldn't understand why you helped me when you believed I had nothing to give you. Maya looked at the old man. That's because Daniel was asking the wrong question. What was the right one? Why would I need a reason? Walter smiled. Outside, traffic passed. No cameras waited. No convoy filled the street. Nobody walking past the restaurant would have guessed that one of the wealthiest men in Ohio was sitting inside eating an $8 breakfast. And that was exactly how Walter liked it. Because the 12 black SUVs had never been the important part of the story. The money wasn't the important part either. The important part happened nearly 2 years earlier. A rainy morning. A nearly empty diner. An old man who had forgotten his wallet. And a tired waitress who decided $8 was not enough money to let another human being feel ashamed. Maya had no idea who Walter Hayes was that day. She didn't know about his company, his estate, his mansion, or the millions he controlled. She simply saw someone who needed kindness, and Walter never forgot it. Because the way you treat someone when you believe they can do absolutely nothing for you may be the clearest picture of who you really are. And sometimes, the smallest kindness doesn't come back as money. Sometimes it comes back as a door, an opportunity, a friendship, a second chance, or a reminder that the good one person begins can keep moving through generations long after they are gone. At Lorraine's table, that lesson was written on the wall. But Maya had been living it long before she ever knew where it came from. When you can, feed somebody else.